Good evening. Welcome to the Pressbox podcast presented by Team FY and Sports. Joined as always by Coach Mark Stone and Jeff Cate at the Jeff Cate on Twitter. Guys, a big week in football last week, not just in football, but in news. Coming out early this week. We'll recap a little bit of last week. First off, McMinn Central goes on the road to Polk County, a team that we have mentioned before. Was undefeated going into this matchup. McMinn Central had not won a game prior to goes on the road to Polk County and knocks off the Wildcats. Coach Stone, we said that this was going to be a good game going into last week. Really didn't know if Central was going to be able to go on the road and get the win, but they do. And they find a way to win on the road. So your thoughts about last week's game between Central?
Well, I wasn't at the ball game, but I understand Central played tremendous defense, and I think that's where a lot of football games are won. This team's going to get better as the season goes along. There's certainly their schedule's going to get much tougher, but I felt like Polk County would be a formidable opponent for them, and I really felt like this football game might be something like 21-20, something like that. And but everybody I talked to, the coaches I talked to, said they really played super defense. And if you can do that and move the ball like they have in those first four games, they're going to win some football games.
Let me tell you a fun fact of that Central Polk County game. Central was without 8 players, I do believe. 2 of them on the offensive line, 2 of them on the defensive line, a linebacker, and a few key depth players. The JV starting quarterback, Little Trent Lee, all of 5'6", 170 pounds, played center. Did a phenomenal job. He actually did such a good job that he was the offensive player of the week for McMinn Central this week. You had a middle linebacker in Isaiah Edmonds that played right tackle, and that's the best line that they've put out there this year. So obviously some film to look at. Coach Gossip's going to tell those guys, hey, we've got some 5'6" guys that will take your spot real quick. But Coach Gossett always does a good job, and he has for a million years that he's been there at McMinn Central. Jeff Cate, the Red Zone game of the week last week was a North Georgia matchup. Talk a little bit about the Red Zone going down to North Georgia.
Yeah, we'll, if you want more information about that game, I'm sure the North Georgia show will definitely go in depth on that because it was a classic, between Ringgold and North Murray. First time we had been down to North Murray. I had a hard time saying that Friday night too. First time we ever been down there. Ringgold had a 14-point deficit twice in that game, rallied to tie the game late, got a turnover in North Murray territory with about a minute to go, get in field goal range, and hit a 42-yarder with about 2 seconds left to win that game, which is a breaching game for both of those teams. So it was the first time Ringgold had beaten the Mountaineers. That was the first win they've had. North Murray had won the last 4 of that series. So big win for Coach Robert Akins, who is Walker Valley coach Drew Akins' dad. So definitely a big win for him and the program. So it was definitely a fun night for high school football in North Georgia.
And then a guy that we talked to a few weeks ago on the podcast, Coach Damon Floyd and his Bradley Bears go on the road to McMinn County and win at McMinn County. We've talked a little bit about McMinn County. We had Coach Cagle on the first week there. A team that's going to get better over the course of the year, but they're just not there yet. They're close, but they're just not all there yet. They're really young at some key positions. Bradley Central is a good football team, and they go up the road to Athens and get the win, Coach Stone.
There again, can't be 2 or 3 places at one time. And I've talked to some people over the weekend, early in the week, as I think you got a football team in Bradley that's getting better every week. McMinn, probably young, can't stand a whole lot of injuries or whatever. And, right now Bradley just seems like they're on a roll. And, they're playing hard, playing good defense. They're just doing everything that is taken to win. And I know they're excited about this coming Friday night, getting to step out on that new turf this Friday night and be their first home football game.
Yeah, that turf is going to be, I saw a picture of it this weekend. I guess it is either on Twitter or Facebook. and man, that's a sight to see, Coach Stone. I would love to go down there and see it, watch a game.
I saw a picture of it, and a former player of mine works in the youth program and along with the high school. And I told him I believe it was one of the best looking turf fields I'd seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, the Bradley B with the bear claw on the man, it's sharp.
The black and gold end zones.
Yeah, I mean it really looks good. So, Jeff, go ahead and is there any key games that we're missing out last week?
Let's see, from last week. Now here was a big one that Ray County was playing Anderson County, and they talk about we're talking about the North Murray Ringgold North Georgia game there. That was another game where in this case Ray County had a double-digit deficit. They came back and won in the final minutes at home, so that was a big win for those guys. And they just keep they have the obviously everybody loses and at Alcoa they lost that first game, but they've definitely turned around, and they got a game coming up on the road against Ottawa, which is a region game as well, and looking to go 2-0 in the region there. But let's just kind of look over and see if I'm missing anything. East Hamilton had a big shutout win over Sequoia, 70-0. Bledsoe stayed undefeated, guys, defeating Sweetwater 49-21. East Ridge went up to, they took on the Cleveland Blue Raiders, 56-7 Blue Raider victory over the Pioneers. And we were talking about Robert Akins just a second ago, the head coach at Ringgold. His son, Drew, and his Walker Valley Mustangs went on the road to Carter up close to Knoxville and came back with a 42-14 win. We talked about Ryan Lay when he was on the podcast with us, guys, and he had a 300-plus yard performance up there on the road. That's definitely a tough thing to do for a first-year starter that early in the season. And it looks like they got things rolling. Obviously, they had they lost to Bradley Central, and that kind of got there was a lot of expectations going into that game for those guys looking to kind of shake that monkey off their back. But they definitely have turned around the last couple of weeks, getting big wins against Ottawa and Carter. So it looks like Drew Aiken's squad is definitely looking to make more, not history, but creating better and new expectations up there at Walker Valley this year. And it looks like they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, especially in that region in 5A for sure.
Yeah, Walker Valley is definitely going to be a team to watch over the coming weeks, and as they make the playoff push. Guys, on Monday, story broke from South Pittsburgh that Chris Jones, the head coach of the South Pittsburgh Pirates, is resigning immediately. He's going to return to the CFL to be a defensive coach. South Pittsburgh had only played one game this season due to COVID restrictions in South Pittsburgh. It's hard to put words to it. Now, I haven't seen a coach just up and leave after this early in the season. I think Coach Akins, his tweet, it's hard for the kids. Your kids just buy in, and you go to the fall camp, and you're really excited about this, and then coach just up and leaves. So it's hard. Obviously, for players, then you'll have assistant coaches coming in. I'm sure they'll probably run similar schemes on both sides of the ball, just until they get their schemes in place. But Coach Stone, have you ever really seen anything like this, just up and leave after 4 weeks?
I'm like you. I was very surprised at that, but I think I said back on our preview show back a month or so ago, I was surprised he made that jump from a professional league down to high school, and I really because everything you ever read about Chris Jones from the CFL was such positive. He had been a head coach there and this, that, and the other. And I think it hurts kids. Yeah. I'm sure he's looking out for his family, more money, I'm sure. But I have a little bit of a problem, in the middle of the season, jumping ship, leaving the kids behind and all that stuff. And apparently, there was no negatives in what he was doing at South Pittsburgh. It's just, he felt like a better opportunity. And you had to take it. But I hurt for the kids. I really do. I hurt for those high school players there at South Pittsburgh.
Well, and see the thing with I'm sorry to interrupt, Wes, but they have the good thing is they have guys, South Pittsburgh guys, stepping in to kind of take over the reins for Coach Jones. Another Coach Stone, Wes Stone, has been on the staff for a while. He's plugging in. I believe somebody from the Gripe, I think it's Heath Grodder's filling in as well. So and they have another county opponent. It's not Marion County, but it's Whitwell that they're playing on Friday night. So I'm sure the community is going to turn out to kind of not only rally around the school, but rally around those student athletes is the main thing. And it'll be a great atmosphere. But yeah, just definitely a tough blow because that was one of the more hyped hires I can recall in the last, in at least my time working for the Red Zone. So South Pittsburgh guy had a huge resume, and and like you said, the CFL is a tough thing to deny. It doesn't matter what week it is if they come calling. I mean, that'd be a tough decision for sure. So. Yeah, but the timing's awful, and like Coach Aiken said, I definitely feel for the kids because they're the ones ultimately having to pick up the pieces, as the season wears on.
I think they're going to be fine because Heath Grodder and Wes Stone have been there. I reckon they've been there forever, either playing or coaching or whatever, and I think they're going to be fine. They're not going to. It's like they're not going to lose the next 9 ball games or whatever they got left. I see them. They've worked together, and I think I said on that preview show I interviewed down there one time a few years ago, and it was just unbelievable when Vic was there at the unity that staff had, and I think they're going to be fine.
I agree, and they've got plenty of talent and good ball coaches down there. I think, like you said, Coach Stone, I think they'll be just fine. Guys, on the flip side of this quick commercial break that we're about to take, a very special guest that Jeff Cate will introduce right after this quick commercial break. Guys, you're listening to the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team F Lion Sports. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Southeast Tennessee Friday Night Press Box podcast presented by FYN Sports, and we're pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Silverdale Baptist Academy Seahawks, Mike Connor. And Coach Connor, first of all, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast and the show with us this week. I know you got a big game coming up Friday night. We'll get to that here in a minute, but I just thank you again for joining us. How you doing tonight?
Doing well, man. I appreciate you guys having us on.
Well, obviously, just kind of recap your first 3 games, I guess, if you can, up to this point. Off to a 3-0 start. First time the Seahawks have done that since the 2016 season. So just kind of give us, just a recap of the first 3 games. And, you guys had an off week last week, but before that was a big win against Chattanooga Christian at Silverdale. So kind of just, if you can, catch us up to speed on the first 3 games so far.
Yeah, well, we were supposed to open up with East Ridge, and East Ridge got quarantined, so we were scrambling to try to find a game. And, our boys did a great job of adjusting and adapting. We found out that we were going to play on really Thursday morning. So we put a game plan in, so to speak, Thursday and played on Friday. Our field was this was when that hurricane was rolling through, so our field was soaking wet. And all night, Wednesday night, when I knew we had an option, I worked to try to find a turf surface. And fortunately, Ringgold High School wasn't playing, so they were generous hosts and showed great hospitality. And we got to play our first game against Belbuckle, which is not our schedule. So got that win in a short time frame. And then we rolled in and played a really strong Franklin Road Academy team out of Nashville. Nashville is really strong in our division. They seem to be winning it all the time. And I felt it pretty important for us to get our eyes outside of just Knoxville and in the Chattanooga area and see what really had to be done in order to compete at a high level with the best, really probably one of the best regions in the state. So we played Franklin Road Academy. We played okay in that game. We ended up getting the win, but we were a little bit inconsistent. And then we roll with CCS, and I don't know how much you guys know about CCS, but they are loaded. Incredible talent, a lot of D1 guys. I used to work at CCS. I'm really familiar with that program and those coaches and those players. So, to be able to compete with CCS was a big deal for our program. And not just to compete with them, but actually get the win for our young team. And so now we're, that game's over. We're moving to the next one. We got Boyd, who again, it's like each week our schedule just gets harder and harder. And, they do a great job with their players in terms of the scheme. I think they use their players better than most teams that we face so far. And, they're going to be a really a big challenge for us Friday night.
Well, Coach, like you said, obviously, everybody paying attention to high school football in this area knows about the Chattanooga Christian athletes that they have on both sides of the ball. But I think people definitely started paying attention when they saw that game because it was on TV as well. Just kind of talk about, a few of your playmakers that kind of had, not only have they been big playmakers so far this year, but they're become leaders as well. Like Brett Rogers, he had a great game. Obviously, we know about Connor DeLashmet, but, I think CCS was keying in on stopping, the other Connor that we're talking about here. And Brett Rogers definitely made them pay for not paying attention to him as much. So kind of talk about those guys and anybody else that has definitely stepped up and become a leader for the Seahawks.
Yeah, going into, week one against Webb, Connor had over 365 yards rushing, I think. So going into week two, everybody was keying on Connor against Franklin Road, and then Brett had a come-out game. And then and we knew it. We've got some explosive wide receivers. And so Brett had a big game. Connor touched the ball 31 times. CCS. We ran 75 plays. Which in high school ball, that's pretty but I tell you, the thing that broke it loose was our wide receiver play. We got a great wide receiver coach in Chris Warnett. I was fortunate enough to live in Georgia, and that guy has made those guys playmakers. He's taken their skill set and developed them, and they've just become this explosive part of our offense. And that part, no one knew about that the first 2 weeks because we didn't have to hardly throw the ball. We were just rushing the ball so well. So, Brett is a phenomenal. He transferred in last year, but because he was a transfer, he had to sit. We thought we had a good argument for a hardship, but didn't win it. Those are hard to get with public and private schools are really, really hard to get. So he spent the whole year and played JV ball and just worked and developed and became a better player. And, Turner Junkins was our quarterback last year. And I'm telling you what, guys, that guy's a player too. But Turner came into the season and said, Coach, I really don't want to play quarterback. I just want to play defense. I said, well, we got that as an option because Brett's here. So it's just been a really neat a group of guys put together from our new staff to these different players playing in different roles for the first time, man. They embraced each other. They've embraced what we're trying to accomplish, and man, it's been fun to watch.
Coach Stone, go ahead. I'm sure you want to ask about play up front because at every show, Coach Connor, Coach Stone asks about the play up front because he loves that stuff. So
I'm the big guy up front. I want to know about those big plow. Those guys that plowed open, they get 365 yards, don't even get to talk about them.
Yeah.
No, one thing I was just sitting here thinking about, and I think I say this every week. Yeah, that's a tribute to a football team that finds out on Thursday morning you're going to play a team on Friday night, and just basically you hadn't been you've probably practiced, but you've probably not practiced about what they've done or had a game plan or anything. And I know it'd drive me plumb crazy, but that's a tribute to you guys in this COVID era. I mean, you've got to find a football game on Thursday for a game on Friday, or set for 3 or 4 weeks. But tell us a little bit about your big guys up front.
Well, first
I
of all,
watched that football game. I taped it and I watched it, so
yeah,
I know a little bit of it.
Yeah, well, 2 things. One, with the COVID era, if there's one thing you have to do is adjust and adapt. And that's the name of the game. And so, our guys did a great job as players. Our coaches did a great job. And that's why we were able to do what we were able to do, is because people were willing to change and be willing to change. The second thing about my guys up front, everybody thinks they're big. They're small. I mean, my biggest guy is 220 on a good day. I got a bunch of 205 type guys. One is 165. So man, we design our offense to make those guys successful. So we're going to try to spread you out. We're going to try to run at a fast pace. Those guys embrace it. They love it. They love to see the defense put their hands on their hips or bend over, because they know they got a chance to win that battle up in the trenches. And so that's the mentality my guys have. They know they're not the biggest. They know that they're not the most athletic, but they believe in what we're doing, and they feel like they got a fighting chance every snap.
Well, Wesley had the best story. I don't know if you heard it or not. McMinn Central's JV quarterback. How big is he, Wesley?
He's soaking wet and on his tiptoes. He's probably 5'6", 160. And
he played center last week.
I cover McMinn Central football on 99.5 WYGO.
Yeah.
And they had some COVID issues, some depth concerns. So they turned to the JV quarterback to be the center. I mean, no kidding, 5'6", 155, 160. He was actually their offensive player of the week. He did a fantastic.
That's awesome.
Well, Coach, obviously, like you mentioned, big game against Boyd Buchanan on the road Friday night. I think it's safe to say probably the biggest rivalry between both of the schools. And, Boyd's had the upper hand, but you guys are looking to make history, but, change expectations and make new ones. So kind of give us a couple of keys to the game, and kind of what do you think we're going to see Friday night when the Buccaneers and the Seahawks meet up on the field?
Well, I mentioned earlier, I think Coach Boskin and his staff do an incredible job with their players in terms of where they have them playing and the schemes that they're using with them. Probably better than anybody we've seen so far. I think what you're going to find out is that game's going to come down to the trenches. They've got an incredible box that we got to block, and we got to figure out ways to manipulate with either formations or pace to give our guys an advantage up front. Whoever wins that battle in the box, that'll be the difference in the game. The other thing we have to do is we just have to we got to survive the surge that comes typically with a rival game, and it's going to be a packed house. I mean, our folks are jacked up about football like obviously I've never seen at Silverdale in my short time. But Boyd's jacked up as well. So it's going to be a packed house, incredible environment to play in. And our guys have just got to, we just got to survive the surge and then settle in and play our brand of football, and we'll be okay. And it's going to be coming down to, just playing moment for moment. We tell our guys all the time, a great play can happen. You got to get over it, move to the next play. A bad play can happen. You got to get over it, move to the next play, and be in the now. And so that's what we'll be looking to do.
Coach,
well, go ahead, Wes. Sorry, go ahead, Wes.
Before we let you go, I know you've got a meeting to get to, but Coach, I know you want your kids to play with emotion. It's a rivalry game. You want that to happen. you tend to see it just about every week. These 15-yard penalties that can really kill drives or take drives farther for the opposing offense. Obviously, like we said, you want them to play with emotion, but how much is too much, and how do you keep them calm, really?
Yeah, that's that's a tricky thing. We talk about it in terms of our warrior dial. So I'm always asking the guys to be mindful of that dial and when to turn it up and when to keep it down. And I'm telling you, against CCS, if we would have played, we have breakfast every Friday morning with the team, and if we'd have played at 7:30, we would have kicked their rear ends at 7:30 in the morning. And then when we got them back at 3:30 and we had our team, pregame meal, and we talked to them, we'd have kicked their rear ends there. They were so jacked up, and we were just trying to help them manage that. And that really is not an easy thing to do for a teenager, but man, even for the coaches. I mean, we get jacked up too. And, your team goes as you go as a coach. So, part of it is me and me maintaining my composure and me giving them directions in terms of that warrior dial. And so that's a big thing. The other thing you mentioned about 15-yard penalties, we were off last week. I watched their game last week, and that game was full of that. Some of that was because they hadn't played, and it was almost like they were starting all over, and you just got, it could have been officials. I don't know. But in that game last week, most of the big scores happened off of as a result of a drive that had a 15 or maybe 2 15-yard penalties. And, so our challenge all week is we have to be the most disciplined football team on the field. We coach that. That's a high standard for us. And we're trying to get better at not having any penalties, not having any turnovers. In terms of defense, to carry out our assignment in offense. That's what discipline looks like in football. And so we have to be the most disciplined to have a chance to beat these guys. They're just that good.
Well, Coach, I know my warrior media dial is going to be turned up because that's going to be our red zone game of the week. So we're looking forward to that. And just thank you again for taking the time to join us. And obviously, this is probably one of the biggest weeks of the year for the Silverdale program. I know for Boyd as well. So just thank you again for taking time to join us and kind of fill us in on the Seahawks, because it's been a great start to the year for you guys.
Well, I appreciate it, Jeff, and I appreciate it, Wes and Mark. Thank you for taking the time to do this each week. I got a chance to catch Josh Roberts last week.
Do
this thing. I saw the Twitter post, and I jumped on there to see what you guys are doing. Man, you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate y'all doing this.
We say this. We do it for the kids. We do it for the coaches and the school. That's what we're here for. We want to get these guys some exposure and give them the chance, the media, to see them and hear them just as much. That's what we're here for.
Well, we certainly appreciate it.
Coach, you have a great year.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thanks, Coach.
All right.
Guys, that was Silverdale head coach, Coach Connor. Jeff, just a good guy, and that warrior dial, it'll be turned up on Friday night. What do you think?
Oh, no doubt. And, like I mentioned with that, I mean, this series historically has been lopsided. Boyd Buchanan's had the upper hand in this series, but Silverdale looking for win number 2 on the field. They've had 2 victories, one on the field, one was a COVID victory last year, which caused a little bit of, talking between both teams last year, but I'm sure it'll be ramped up, within reason, obviously, between these 2 schools on Friday night. Looking forward to being there, and it should be a great atmosphere between 2 region rivals for sure.
Coach Stone, what do you think about that offensive line?
Well, in 1974, when I played at McMinn Central, we had one guy that weighed 260 and another guy that weighed 235, and the guy that weighed 235 was me, and the rest of the team we had people that were small. Little story that I can interject about Copper Basin. My first year of coaching, our center, who was about 200 pounds, got hurt in a car wreck. And the backup center, I really didn't know the kids that good. And I go out there, and the guy who lines up in the huddle at center weighs 142 pounds and is about 5'7". And he told me after the first day of practice, he said, "I'm the last center you will need this year." and he was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And, you can get it done. You don't have to be them big bulldozers. I just like them.
Yeah, absolutely. And technique oversized any week, right, Coach Stone?
That's right. That's right.
Well, hey, guys, we'll be joined by Silver head coach, Coach Connor there. A very special guest coming up next here on the Friday Night Press Box. We bring in Tennessee Titans football outreach manager Josh Corey. So we'll be right back after this quick commercial break on the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Sports.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Baba. Hey, Baba. Shh, shh, shh.
It's all right.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Friday Night Press Box presented by Team FYN Southeast Tennessee podcast. Guys, we are pleased to be joined right now by Tennessee Titans football outreach manager Josh Corey. Josh, it's a pleasure to have you tonight, and we thank you for coming on.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So first off, I hadn't heard much about this. The thing that the Titans do, kind of telling me about it a little bit earlier. Go ahead and for the people that don't know what you do, just go ahead and give a brief overview.
Yeah, so I work in the community relations department of the Titans, responsible for a lot of things, kind of like being a football coach. You wear a lot of different hats, but responsible for a lot of different things. Youth and high school football outreach is one of those things. I also handle all of our alumni relations, all of our current player appearances, and things that have to do with education, military outreach, and a lot of different things, but all kind of deal with our team and our organization and how we serve off the field.
That's fantastic. Go ahead and talk a little bit about how you pick your games or that you go to.
Yeah, so we have a game of the week program, and we serve the entire state of Tennessee, not just Nashville, but the entire state. And so we want to make sure that the entire state is well represented in the game of the week program. So we have a panel of media that helps me out. Been doing so for 6 years now. We pick one game from West Tennessee, one game from Middle Tennessee, one game from East Tennessee. And then we have a wild card game that we kind of work in there. For instance, I got a lot of nominations for games in East Tennessee next week because the schedule is pretty deep next week in East Tennessee. So we'll probably get 2 from East and then 1 from every other region next week.
If you've got anything for Josh.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Josh, you mentioned the 4 games that everybody can choose from on the Tennessee Titans website. 2 of those games are actually featuring in our neck of the woods. Loudon at Signal Mountain, and then Knox Catholic in McCallie, which is a battle of unbeaten there as well. So just kind of talk about the process. Obviously, you guys post those every week. I think it's a Monday through Wednesday night at 10 o'clock Eastern time that people can vote on that, and kind of talk about what that program is, and if the game gets chosen, kind of what happens after that, and kind of what they have to play for.
Yeah, so we wanted to tie this in with our Coach of the Week program as well. So how this works is, like you said, Jeff, they have about 60 hours during the week to vote. So we'll decide the games on Thursday or Friday the week prior. We'll let the schools know, the administration know that they're up for next week. And then we'll open the voting Monday morning, and we'll close it out on Wednesday night. This one's just about to close, and so we'll tabulate all the votes, and then we'll let the schools that won, the schools that have the most votes, we'll let them know that they're up. And so what we do with that is the school that wins their coach is automatically our coach of the week, and then they'll receive a $2,000 grant from the Titans Charitable Foundation to use in their football program. And I always stipulate, having been an old coach myself, that money goes to the football program and doesn't go to the school for the principal to spend at his discretion or her discretion. We want this going right back into the football program to support those programs.
That's awesome. Yeah, because and in following this the last few years, we definitely try and plug that around here with our local teams and stuff. And there's been some very close voting matches that have come down to pretty much the last probably 5 or 10 minutes. So I think the last I checked at this recording, which is 9:00 Eastern time, that Loudon Signal Mountain game has barely creeped out over Macaulay and North Knox Catholic. So the 423 area code, as I call it, is definitely showing out, and it looks like it's going to stay in house. So that's definitely a good thing. And I think they actually come to this, and they recognize the coaches at the end of the year, at least at one of the last home games. Correct?
Yeah, we do. So we'll bring all of our Coach of the Week winners to the Miami Dolphins game on January 2nd. And we'll have brunch. We usually bring in our general manager, John Robinson, to talk to coaches and their families. And then we'll go down in the press room and have a ceremony where they'll get their plaques. And always send the money ahead of time, because I'm sure coaches want to get their hands on that check and get those deposited into their account so they can start spending them. But we'll do a big thing. We used to be able to go down on the field for pregame. I don't know exactly if that's going to be possible because of COVID protocols with the league yet. But we're working on that. We just want to make it a top-notch first half experience for our coaches. And usually our coach of the year ends up coming from that group as well. So it's always a fun day. It's great to see the coaches get some time to spend with their families and things like that. So, it's definitely one of my favorite programs in our youth and high school football outreach.
One of the things, just sitting here, one of the things that I enjoyed as a high school football coach was before our practices started, the NFL training camps was already open. And when I was at Copper Basin, we took our kids down to the Atlanta Falcons, and the ones that wanted to go, just a day that we just took and enjoyed, and we went to practice and, just watched them and all that stuff. And it turned a light bulb onto a lot of guys, that really wanted to go. And then the last one that I went to, we brought some of our football players from McMinn Central over to Nashville to see the Titans, and we were treated, like kings, really. And and I know that's a tense time of year for you guys, and but the coaches and the players came around, talked to our players, and it was super, and it did me good. Get to watch all that and watch those guys work, and sometimes it might hit some young man that might be a prototypical offensive lineman, and he might want to work. He might want to work a little bit harder and try to get into the NFL. But I appreciate you guys, Josh. I really do.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. That's one of our favorite things as well, to be able to bring teams in during training camp. Of course, we weren't able to do that this year, more so because of our construction project on St. Thomas Sports Park. We're almost tripling the size of our facility, and it's just not finished yet. So we didn't have any fans at training camp this year. But the high school coaches clinic that we've run in the past is a chance to get our coaching staff and high school coaches in Tennessee an opportunity to get together, talk some ball, and kind of build some relationships with each other. But the access is, when you talk to high school coaches, the access is really what they want. And that's something we try to provide. Some of our coaches and general managers have been more gracious than others. I won't throw out any names here on the podcast, but it's a priority for Coach Vrabel. Coach Vrabel likes to have guys in and seeing things. And definitely with John Robinson, our general manager, he's a Tennessee guy, from West Tennessee. And so he's a huge high school football fan. When we pass each other in the hallway on Mondays, he'll kind of mention some of those games that happened, and he pays attention, and we'll kind of talk about it around the water cooler there.
Well, speaking of a community, I don't know, many people know about this around here. I'm sure they have, but you talk about bringing people in. Well, it's just hit me. I'm glad you're on. Let's talk about what's going on at Nissan Stadium tomorrow night. I mean, obviously everybody knows about the Waverly High School. They have major flooding issues, not only with their football facilities and their field, but the school in general. So I know Titans Radio is doing the broadcast on the radio tomorrow night, I believe. And so it's kind of like Titans Radio becomes, Tigers Radio, and Nissan Stadium will become, Tiger Stadium for at least one night. Kind of talk about, I guess, the connection and teaming up with, they're not, in Southeast Tennessee, but still they're part of the state of Tennessee. Just talk about kind of the connection there with the Waverly football program, because actually it is a Southeast Tennessee connection, because the former head coach at Whitwell is Randall Bolden, is now the head coach over at Waverly. So kind of talk about that a little bit if you can, please.
Yeah, what that community had to endure about 3 weeks ago was just unbelievable. And, we have the resources to help people that are in need, and especially our own. When something happens to somebody in the state of Tennessee, that it affects them, it affects us as well. And so we were trying to think of anything kind of outside the box that we could do to support these kids. We can cut checks and do that kind of thing from our foundation. And we did some of that. But this is the stuff that people really remember. These are the experiences that the kids, really look forward to. And so we were sitting around in a staff meeting saying, well, how can we support this community who's gone through so much? How can we do something that take their mind off of everything that they've endured for the last 3 weeks, even if it's just for a few hours? How can we help these people? And we started looking at their schedule and started looking at our stadium calendar, and we kind of had 1 week that really, meshed together there. And that was this week, and they Waverly plays White House from Sumner County. And it's a big region game. White House is 3-1, and Waverly's 3-0. Everything that they've gone through, they're still winning football games. So Coach Bolden's done a great job of keeping those kids focused with everything that they've experienced. And so we are turning it into a Waverly home game. We're going to have the homecoming court at halftime. We're going to have senior night for all the cheerleaders and band and football players. We're going to make sure that we do things that these kids wouldn't have the chance to do because they're not playing at home all season because of the damage to their facilities. So, our Titans radio crew, Mike Keith and Coach Dave McGinnis and Amy Wells, they're going to do a broadcast just like this was a Titans game. And that's really kind of what you need to know about this is, we're going to have the video boards on. We're going to have instant replay. We're going to do the starting lineups. Kids are coming out through the tunnels. This is just like tomorrow night will be just like a home game for the Titans on Sunday.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
That's something you don't need to. You don't have to do. That is wonderful.
Yeah. What's that?
What's the ticket cost at the gate?
So that's something we waive the ticket price, so it's absolutely free.
Even better.
We feel like people have kind of been through a lot, and having kids that play multiple sports, you get hit at the gate a bunch of times. So everything's absolutely free. There's no admission charge. Right now, we are we are doing a mobile ticket that is free but just for our tracking purposes and things like that. As of right now, we're right about 5,400 tickets.
Wow, that's fantastic. Jeff, we might have to make a trip.
Might have to do that. I mean, Titans Radio has, the Chattanooga affiliate is on Talk Radio 102.3, and just hearing Mike Keith's call on these airwaves every Sunday around Chattanooga, I know that, I'm sure they'll be able to find ways to get, a highlight from somebody on that player. I mean, that's something they're going to be able to remember the rest of their lives. But, I did want to bring one thing up talking about football. This is totally unrelated to high school football. Now, Josh, you're a University of Florida alum, I believe, correct?
Yes.
How do you think Saturday in the Swamp's going to go against Alabama, just before we let you go?
I mean, first of all, it's real hard being a University of Florida alum up here in Tennessee. You're not
– turn him off.
Yeah, you're not a real – yeah, I see. Yep. And it's not a real popular thing, but I love the rivalry and all that kind of thing. This Saturday, I think, is going to be a rough one for my boys. That is a – well-oiled machine down there in Tuscaloosa, and I don't know. I just hope we can keep it close and maybe have a chance in the fourth quarter. But we still have some quarterback issues. We don't really have an offensive identity yet, so they better get that figured out.
Well, I'm sure Florida's looking ahead to Tennessee next week, so I'm sure that's definitely in the fourth out of the Florida Gators.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Talk about Florida. Let's talk about the Titans real quick. Titans go on the road to play the Seattle Seahawks. It's a 4:25 kick. Titans, you like the Titans this week? Of course.
I always like the Titans.
Good.
Always like the Titans. We had a rough one last week, and I don't think anybody in our organization thought we played to the way that we're capable of playing. And I know that Coach Vrabel and his staff will do their best. I think you'll see a different football team this Sunday, and it doesn't get any easier. I mean, Seattle's a phenomenal football team. They've got a lot of weapons with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf and Russell Wilson at quarterback. So it certainly doesn't get any easier for us, and the trip is a long trip all the way out there. But I'm pretty confident in our guys, and I think they'll come out and perform much better than we did Sunday.
No doubt. Well, Josh, just thank you again for taking the time and just interacting with me and getting this set up, and just definitely appreciate what you and the Titans Community Foundation do for not only just the state of Tennessee, but the high school football community as well. We definitely appreciate that, and definitely thank you for taking the time to join us tonight.
Well, thanks for having me, Coach. Good seeing you, and Wes, thanks, and appreciate everything that you guys do for high school football here in Tennessee.
Thank you, Josh.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks, guys. Wow, what they're doing tomorrow, I took a lot from that, but what they're doing tomorrow night for Waverly, man, that's going to be special. It's going to be something that those kids remember for all of their life.
And just go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry.
The thing I think is great about it is all the negativity that you hear, about the NFL, the NBA, or Major League Baseball or whatever. They never come out, and I never hear this, that the Tennessee Titans opened up their facilities, free admission and everything for a team that's literally flooded out of their facilities and not going to have a home game. They're going to have senior night and homecoming at Titan Stadium.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
Well, and see how, as soon as I got to thinking about that situation, and, I know we're a Southeast Tennessee podcast, but the light bulb went off. I'm like, wait, the head coach of Waverly was the same guy who led Whitwell to a state championship not that long ago. So, I mean, it all connects. I mean, it's just like life in general. Things connect and make it, appear, and just, I think there's a link online. We'll definitely look on that. We'll put that on Twitter whenever we get ready to post this. But, I'm sure, I think there are ways to donate to Waverly, and, and he's right. Whenever, tragedy strikes across the state, I know, like when the Easter tornadoes happened in Chattanooga a few years ago and Grace got hit really hard, a lot of people, reached out and stepped up for them, and they're in the process of rebuilding as well. So, it's not just our local area. That's a tight knit community. It's statewide, and it's not just high school football, but it's just across the state in general. So,
well, the first thing you ought to see on TV Friday morning from ESPN is this act of kindness to this community.
Yeah, correct. And that's definitely going to be something great that they do for Labor Day tomorrow night. But guys, looking ahead to this week, some key games that we're going to cover. Red Bank goes on the road to Chattanooga Central. Red Bank 1-1 on the year, and Chattanooga Central 2-1 on the year. Brainerd goes on the road to McMinn Central. Both teams 1-3 on the year. McMinn Central with a little bit of confidence going into Loudon, Signal Mountain. Loudon goes on the road to Signal Mountain. Signal Mountain now 3-1 on the year after their loss last week, and Loudon 5-0. And Loudon played on the Thursday night game last week, and Keaton Herrick threw for 5 touchdowns. Keaton Herrick, we had his father, Jeff Herrick, on a couple weeks ago, and Loudon's got it rolling up there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, obviously, that's going to be interesting to kind of see. Loudon's on their way up. Let's kind of see how Signal Mountain does after their first loss, to Meigs County. And I know that they had a quarterback issue last week, and they had to play an underclassmen that hadn't had a lot of playing time, and it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Roberts kind of uses this as motivation. Obviously the undefeated season's out the door, but you still have a chance to rally and go out and beat a really good team at home. And at the last check, it's looking like that might wind up being the Titans high school game of the week as well. So definitely something else to play for as well. So we'll definitely see how both of those teams meet up here on Friday night for sure.
Coach, McMinn County goes on the road to Howard. McMinn County 1-3 on the year. Howard's 0-2. Howard does have the new football stadium, correct, Jeff?
They do, and I mean, but honestly, with the reclassification, the student body at Howard has definitely gone up. But it's going to be a tough year for the Hustling Tigers. Coach Starr left in the offseason. They're breaking in not only a new head coach, but a new region there as well. With the likes of Walker Valley, Ray County, Ottawa, and McMinn. So that's a tough region for those guys to compete. And I see McMinn County adding another loss to Howard. But that's definitely a tough situation for those guys, and just kind of a tough region to come into altogether. So
I think McMinn will go down there and take care of business. They're not a 1-3 football team. I've seen enough.
First 4 games, really.
Yeah,
really. You mentioned Ray County and Ottawa. They play this week. Ray County on the road at Ottawa. That'll be a big game to watch out.
Well, and talk about a team that's had a tough schedule. I think we talked about it at times in the last few weeks. There's probably not another team that's had a tougher start to the season than Ottawa. East Hamilton's undefeated still. They played them week 1. They were supposed to play Red Bank, but a COVID cancellation, knocked that out. Then they played Walker Valley, leading into that as well. And now they're playing Ray County, who's a tough football team coming off a big win against Anderson County. So, I know Coach Manning is looking for that win number 1 as the head coach of the Owls, and it's going to be a tough go. It's going to be on TV here in the area this week as well. So definitely check it out if you're sitting at home watching high school football. Obviously, listen to either the men's Central football game or the Coca-Cola Red Zone while you are watching this high school football on TV. So, but these two teams have had some pretty close matchups in the last 5 or 10 years. But I think Ray County gets it done, and Ottawa still looking for that first win. I believe they play Baylor coming up next week as well. So it's just still tough sledding for the Owls. But and talking to Coach Mann, he's like, hey, I want that. He's a competitor, and I know the kids want to do that too. So we'll see what happens between those two at the Nest on Friday.
Yep. Knox Catholic goes on the road to McCallie. A battle of unbeatens will face off. This game is going to be fantastic.
I think, honestly, this game right here, guys, should be the game of the week in this area, just based on the amount of talent you're going to see on the field at Spears Stadium on Friday. Now, if you're looking for a game, if you don't have a dog in the fight on this Friday night, if you're not going to your favorite team's game, make the trip over there and check this out, because obviously we know what McCallie has, back-to-back state championships, looking like they're a strong contender for a 3-peat. But Knox Catholic, man, they're undefeated too, and coming off a big win against Baylor as well not that long ago. So, it should be a great matchup between these two squads there on Friday night for sure.
That to me is a Thursday or Saturday ESPN game.
Should have been. It really should have been.
And it could be, I'm not sure exactly how the playoff standings or brackets, work in Division II AAA, but this could definitely be a preview of a postseason matchup, possibly maybe looking ahead to the Blue Cross Bowl here in Chattanooga. So, we'll definitely see what happens.
And we talked about this one a little bit earlier, but Silverdale and Boyd Buchanan, the red zone game of the week, correct?
It is, yep. Definitely going to be it's our Coca-Cola Red Zone game of the week. We're looking forward to it. It's been a few years since we've been to a game over at Boyd Buchanan. It's been one of our better atmospheres, and they got turfed down a couple years ago. And so I know Coach Jeremy Boskin, his squad, they started off with a big win in week 1 and have dropped the last 2, but I know that they are getting ready for the Seahawks. I mean, like I mentioned before with Coach Connor, that's a big rivalry for both of those teams. And, I haven't seen any of the trash talking yet on social media or whatever yet, but I know it's going on, and I know that they're gearing up for another great matchup here on Friday. And it's it'd be interesting to see. It's kind of like we were talking about with the Walker Valley Bradley thing. It's like we think Walker Valley is going to get over the hump and beat them, but Bradley has had their number, and they proved that a couple weeks ago. And I kind of want to see how can Silverdale have that warrior dial turned up enough to get over that hump and get a win on the field against a pretty good Boyd Buchanan team. Yeah, they're 1-2, but they'll find a way to be in this game. I think it's going to be a very close game. Probably, I don't know if it'll be a last-second field goal like we saw with North Murray and Ringgold on the red zone, but I think it'll definitely be a one-possession game going into the final minutes, no doubt.
I would agree. Coach, Silverdale and Boyd Buchanan, who you like in that one?
I haven't seen Boyd. I really like Silverdale on this one. I really do. And that's going to be one of those games, just like Jeff said. It might come down to the last minute, but it's going to be a good football game by two very good football teams. That's what I was getting ready to say a while ago. If you could figure out how to manage kids from about Tuesday till Friday at 7:30. You'd be a rich man. The highs and the lows, we always try to tell our guys, we don't play tonight. We don't play tomorrow night. We don't play Thursday night. We're going to play Friday at 7:30. So that's when you need to be. And whatever coach I think can manage that, because I'm sure there's a lot of energy in those two football teams.
And Wes, I know we're running out of time real quick, but one more game I do want to bring up, and it's another matchup of two unbeaten teams, Bledsoe County, Marion County in 2A. That's going to be a great matchup there at Bledsoe County. Both teams, like I said, unbeaten. Marion County still hasn't given up a point. They've had COVID issues the last couple of weeks, so and Bledsoe had a big win last week. So, it should be a great matchup between Bledsoe County and Marion County. I'm looking forward to seeing how that one goes on Friday night for sure.
That'd be a great game.
A good slate of games this week. I don't know of any COVID cancellations this week, Jeff. Like we said, we do record this on Wednesday night to be aired on Thursday, but for the most part, no COVID cancellations. And I want to say thank you to the guests that have come on. Be sure to tune in to 102.3 to catch all the Coca-Cola Red Zone highlights. Tune in to 99.5 WYGO FM. Catch McMahon Central and Brainerd this Friday night at 7:30 for the kickoff there. For Coach Stone, Jeff Kate, I'm Wesley Dunkel. Thanks for listening to the Friday Night Press Box on Team FYN Sports.
See you guys.